A rationale that I do really see a whole lot is Joshua Kaindoh. That dude is an athlete. He's just a big old ball of clay, is what I think. I can't remember who described him as that because he's just. I feel like he's so moldable now with his frame and everything. I need to see what he was. I think he's 6'5", 265. So is what Brett Veach said that he was, and Brett Veach literally said, "Well, this is a prototypical Steve Spagnuolo D end right here,"
Don't
and
you love
it's
that?
it's just you see that and you're just like, oh man, 35 and 3/8 inch arms too. This dude is built in a lab for Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, you just have to imagine when Kaindoh was at that pick, Steve Spagnuolo just looked over to Brett Veach and he was like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Yeah, Kaindoh, I think, was the number 3 recruit in the
Mhm.
nation a few years ago. I think he was behind Chase Young, and there was another edge guy as well that he was behind. I forgot who it was. I heard it earlier, but it was another one that made the NFL, and it was great. And he went to FSU, Florida State
Mhm.
University. They have struggled recently, FSU as a college, in developing guys, in coaching, in record. So
Yeah.
it's not really a great place for a prospect to go. And Kaindoh also, I believe it was around halfway through his 2019 year, got a pretty bad ankle injury that kind of set him back. The Chiefs at least said that set him back for that year, and then kind of in 2020 as well, was still affecting him. So you can see kind of why he didn't really progress in college. So this is that home run swing on an athlete with the Spags size that you want to just give to Spags and Brennan Daly and see if they can kind of form into a somebody who can actually start every down in the NFL. I
Mhm.
mean, like you said, I think he's actually like 6'6" to 65. He's a tall dude. And it's crazy he can be that big, but also he definitely moves well, and he moved well in testing, and he moves well on tape. I've already seen a few games of his, and he moves well for a guy his size. Like, you see him
Yeah.
stunting in from the defensive end spot, and he just comes in like a roaring lion. He just hits that guard right on the inside shoulder, and he just pushes and pushes. He doesn't have much technique. Kind of had a side swipe move where he kind of just like did a stutter step on the outside and dips
Mhm.
under the tackle. But it was mostly that and kind of a half-assed cross chop. So he'll definitely need to learn more about technique, learn about using his really long arms. But this is a better swing recently that the Chiefs have had at edge than like Tano Passanio. I know people try to
Yep.
compare him to Tano Passanio. He's nothing like Tano Passanio. Tano Passanio was not the athlete Kaindoh was. There was a reason Kaindoh was like the number 3 recruit in the country. He's got way more juice on the edge. He's got way more. Even though his technique is not refined, he's way more refined than Tano. Tano went to like
Yep.
Villanueva and played on the inside. The tape they showed of Tano when he was drafted in the second round also was like some like field level tape where it was like I don't know if I can tell if it's like I can't see him from the top here. I don't know.
Mhm.
Who knows if he's good or not. But no, Kaindoh went to Florida State. He showed chops on the edge, and he's a much better developmental guy who could probably play 30% of the snaps this year.
Yeah, I agree. He's a good rotational guy. If he can stay on the field, I know health was a big concern. You mentioned that Florida State has not been the best football program in the country like they once were. They've had a lot of coaching turnover, so I think that's kind of the
Right.
big thing with Kando is if the Chiefs coaches, well, not if, when the Chiefs coaches get their hands on him, they can really develop this guy and he can grow into the football player that they know he can be. And I was just looking up the 24/7 sports rankings because you talked about his high school ranking, and I was like, I should look at that class. And he was number 4 behind Jalen Phillips, stud,
4.
Chase Young, stud,
It was
Kal-
Jalen Phillips. Yeah.
Kalavion Chasen, also a stud from LSU.
Oh, okay.
And then it was Joshua Kaindoh. But then, if you want to look at just the overall rankings, which I found this interesting, Walker Little 1, Jalen Phillips 2, Alex Leatherwood 3, Chase Young 4, number 5, Trey Smith. Out of high
Mm-hmm.
school, he was the number 5 recruit in the country. I believe I also saw another one on here that was a Chiefs pick, but maybe it was just Kaindoh. Yeah, but I know that high school rankings don't really mean a lot, but like I think that
Right.
that's kind of neat to see those high school rankings translate to now finally those guys getting to the NFL, and the Chiefs really getting a couple really good guys in the country.
Right. And I think Kaindoh is kind of an extension of, we talked about a little bit last year that Brett Veach likes to reclaim these former first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he's also a little bit into, as you say, Kaindoh and Trey Smith, reclaiming these former like top recruits in the nation.
Yeah.
And they kind of like that pedigree. They like the guys where they weren't coached up well, but we think we can coach them up. They like to have that attitude. And it's not unfounded because the Chiefs probably have a top 5 coaching staff in the league. So you kind of just want to give them these guys and say, hey, if we coach them up, we're going to come out ahead here. So Kaindoh is another extension of that. I love the swing on this, and I love the swing on it because it's an end of the 4th round pick. There was a guy earlier in the draft, Ellerson Smith, got picked before Kaindoh as well. He was another project guy that I was kind of into the Chiefs coaching up. And Kaindoh's in the same mold where it's just like he has all the athletic tools. He showed a bit. He wasn't like lost on the field either, which I kind of enjoyed, because usually sometimes these projects, they go, oh, they were lost on the field. We have to train him up from scratch. I think he has stuff to work with. It's just he's still a fair bit of ways, I would say a year away from being a 60-70% snap guy. But I think I like this swing at edge more than Tano Passanio, Braylon Speaks. Yep. And I think this kind of shows the evolution of Brett Veach as a GM, taking this kind of guy at the end of the 4th instead of trading up for a Braylon Speaks in the middle of the 2nd round.
And Brett Veach was asked about this too, about, how does Kaindoh fit in? Like, what's his role as a developmental guy? How do you visualize him in this defense? And here's what he had to say about that.
Well, this is a prototypical Steve Spagnuolo DN right here. I mean, 6'5", 265, 268, 35 and 3/8 inch arm, I think. I mean, he's long, athletic. He has some work to do in regards to his development. So he had an injury a couple of years ago that really put him back. He had an ankle injury, I believe in 19. Was off to a really good, maybe it was 19 or 20. I guess it was 2 years ago. I'm losing track of my years here, but a couple of years ago, he had an ankle injury, was off to a hot start, set him back. And then sometimes those injuries are slow, make it more difficult for you to return. And, he had some lingering effects off that into this season. But again, going back to the medical staff and the work we've done, like the way that that's healed up now. And again, he's a guy that has a ton of potential, but his size, length, and overall skill set is exactly what we're looking for. Great kid, smart, will catch on quick. So we think he'll come in here and fit in right away. And, I think the more he gets to be with Brendan Daly in that defensive line room, we think that talent will come out. But I mean, we're excited to work with him skill set wise. I mean, he has all the tools you look for at that position.
Brett Veach pretty much said right there what we all expected him to say, how Kaindoh is going to fit into this defense, man. He, like I said earlier, built in a lab for Steve Spagnuolo. You just love to see it, honestly. You love to see these guys that fit into the mold. Like Mike Dana last year was a little bit of like, all right, he doesn't fit the mold at all. And now they go back to the mold and like, okay, the mold is still there. They didn't break the mold.
They referenced the mold.
Yeah, he even acknowledged the mold, it makes us feel good a little bit that the mold gets referenced.